The Thomas Curse is one of the most famous and eerie legends associated with the International Space Station. It's important to note, this refers to astronaut Thomas Janes, not actor Thomas Janes. His story is not an official NASA report, but rather a collection of his personal experiences, which he described after his flight, and which quickly acquired a mystical aura. Here's a detailed description of this curse, with an analysis of the facts and possible explanations. Who is Thomas Janes? Thomas Janes is an American physicist and NASA astronaut. He made his only spaceflight in 2007 as part of Expedition 15 to the ISS. He spent 152 days on the station long enough to experience all the joys of space isolation. Chronicle of the Curse. According to Janes, strange and frightening things began to happen to him on board the ISS, and they escalated. 1. Phosphonies and cosmic lightning. Scientific fact. This phenomenon is the only one with a rigorous scientific explanation. Astronauts in space, especially with their eyes closed, often see sudden flashes of light or sparks. These are caused by cosmic rays high-energy particles that pass through the spacecraft and by affecting the visual cortex of the brain, create similar effects. For Janes, this was the first, but not the last, symptom. 2. Unexplained sounds. Janes began to report hearing things that shouldn't be there in the metallic silence of space. Knocking and grinding. He heard unexplained tapping sounds on the station's outer skin. Although engineers often attribute such sounds to thermal expansion and contraction of metal, when moving out of shadow and exposed to sunlight, Janes insisted the sounds were different, more rhythmic and meaningful. Voices and whispers. The most eerie thing was that he began hearing muffled voices and whispers when he was alone in the module. He couldn't make out the words, but he was sure they weren't radio communications with Earth or the sounds of the station's systems operating. One day, he thought he heard someone quietly calling his name. 3. Visual hallucinations and a ghost. This is the culmination of the whole story. According to Janes, the most terrifying episode occurred when he was in the cupola module, the famous room with large portholes offering a panoramic view of Earth and space. He was looking out the porthole at the vastness of space, and suddenly his gaze caught a reflection in the glass. A vague, blurred figure stood behind him. Turning around, he saw no one. The team was at the other end of the station. Later, in another episode, he saw the reflection in the window again. This time, he thought he recognized the features of his dead father, looking at him with a sad expression from the void of space. It was this moment, the encounter with the ghost of his deceased parent in the vacuum of space, that became the central element of Thomas's curse. Of course, the theme of ghosts and voices on the ISS is one of the most intriguing and eerie aspects of life in orbit. It combines real psychophysiological phenomena, technical interference, and pure human folklore born under extreme stress. Legends and rumors. Surfing the ISS modules. While there are no official reports from NASA or Roscosmos on paranormal activity, oral stories have circulated in space circles for decades. 1. The classic legend, the voice of an angel on Salyut 7. This is the most famous and oldest legend, the precursor to all stories about the ISS. In 1984, a crew of 6 people was working on the Soviet station Salyut 7. According to legend, during their next orbit around the Earth, the cosmonauts witnessed an inexplicable phenomenon. What happened? Suddenly, the entire station was illuminated by a blinding white, angelic light. The crew, completely stunned, allegedly heard inhumanly beautiful voices speaking to them. The light was so bright that it temporarily blinded the cosmonauts. After a few minutes, the vision disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. Rational explanation. The most likely explanation is a mass hallucination caused by hypoxia, oxygen starvation. Perhaps a malfunction in the air regeneration system led to a small but critical drop in oxygen levels, or an increase in CO2 levels. This condition can cause euphoria, synesthesia, a confusion of the senses where sounds are seen and colors are heard. and collective hallucinations. The crew may have simultaneously seen flashes of light, phosphonies from cosmic rays, and, due to hypoxia, interpreted them as a divine phenomenon. 2. Unexplained knocking and a guest at the door. This is perhaps the most common paranormal experience, periodically mentioned by astronauts from different countries. What's happening? The crew hears distinct, rhythmic knocking on the station's exterior. The sound is similar to someone outside, gently but persistently pounding a fist on metal. Rational explanation. 1. Thermal expansion, contraction. The ISS orbits the Earth every 90 minutes, alternately being on the sunny side, heating up to 121 degrees Celsius, and in the shade, cooling down to 150-70. The metal of the hull constantly breathes expanding and contracting, which is accompanied by clicking, creaking, and knocking sounds. 2. Micrometeorites. Tiny particles of cosmic dust constantly bombard the station. Although they are the size of a grain of sand, their velocity is so high that the impact can sound like a distinct click or thud. 3. Equipment operation. Pumps, fans, and gyrodynes are constantly operating inside the station. These vibrations can be transmitted through the structure and perceived as knocking from outside. Despite all explanations, the psychological effect of this sound is powerful. In the airless space, where no one can be, someone is knocking at the door. 3. Shadow people and peripheral visions. Many astronauts, especially during long missions, reported seeing rapid movements out of the corner of their eye, as if someone had passed by. They turned around, but no one was there. Some described a sense of presence, as if someone was silently observing their work. This is a classic symptom of high brain strain and sensory deprivation. The brain, accustomed to the constant flow of information on Earth, the sound of wind, birds, cars, crowds, begins to complete reality in the relative silence and monotony of the ISS. It can interpret a random shadow cast by a passing object in zero gravity, or simply a glitch in the optic nerve as the movement of a non-existent object. Scientific basis. Why does this happen? Almost all ghostly phenomena on the ISS have a strictly scientific basis. 1. Cosmic radiation and its effect on the brain. This is the main culprit. The ISS is located within the Van Allen radiation belt, and the crew is constantly exposed to cosmic rays. High energy particles, by saturating the brain, can cause phosphenes, those flashes of light you see with your eyes closed. Affect the temporal lobe. This part of the brain is responsible for processing auditory information and emotions. Stimulation of the temporal lobe can cause auditory hallucinations, voices, music, whispers, a sense of presence, and even mystical experiences. Laboratory experiments with electromagnetic stimulation of the temporal lobe reliably induce in subjects the feeling that someone is in the room. 2. Psychological factor, isolation and stress. Sensory deprivation effect, monotony of sounds, sights, and sensations. Existential dread, the realization that you're hanging in an airless void in a fragile metal case, hundreds of kilometers from home. Monotony and hyper-responsibility, the constant stress of working with expensive and dangerous equipment. All this creates the ideal conditions for the development of solipsism, the feeling that the entire world is a product of one's own consciousness, as well as paranoia and hallucinations. What is it? Ghosts and voices. On the ISS aren't proof of the existence of otherworldly forces in space. They're much more interesting. They offer a unique window into the workings of the human mind under extreme conditions. The astronaut's brain is the most complex and poorly understood device on the station. Ghosts are malfunctions in its functioning caused by radiation, stress, and isolation. They pose a serious challenge for future long-term missions, such as to Mars, where the crew will be completely isolated for months without the possibility of rapid evacuation. Understanding these phenomena is key to astronaut training, developing psychological support systems, and perhaps even creating methods of magnetic or pharmacological protection of the brain from space radiation. So the next time you hear a scary story about the ISS, remember, the real mystery lies not in ghosts, but in the mysterious and still unknown depths of the human psyche when confronted with the merciless reality of space.